Rarely has Whitehall seen such a collection of green wellies and barbered jackets, though in fairness to the thousands of farmers who descended on central London today,
Elon Musk, a name synonymous with innovation and disruption, has once again found himself at the epicenter of a major political controversy, this time directing his ire toward UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. The clash unfolded in the context of escalating farmer riots across the United Kingdom, a movement that has shaken the nation's socio-political fabric and exposed deep divisions in policy and governance. Musk, known for his outspoken demeanor on social media and sharp critiques of political leaders, took aim at Starmer's handling of the crisis, unraveling a complex narrative of dissatisfaction, policy failure, and the widening disconnect between the government and its citizens. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The farmer riots, a manifestation of grievances that had been simmering for years, erupted into the public consciousness with an intensity that few anticipated. Rooted in opposition to controversial agricultural reforms, the protests quickly transcended their immediate cause, becoming a symbol of broader dissatisfaction with the Starmer administration's perceived disregard for rural communities. Farmers, a traditionally stoic and industrious demographic, found themselves cornered by policies they argued would devastate livelihoods, erode rural economies, and consolidate agricultural power into the hands of large corporate entities. The government's introduction of stringent regulations on land use, subsidies, and environmental compliance, while ostensibly aimed at promoting sustainability, was met with fierce resistance, as many saw these measures as ill-conceived and poorly implemented. The controversy provided fertile ground for Elon Musk to weigh in. As a global figure celebrated for his ability to question conventions and challenge institutional norms, Musk's commentary resonated with a significant swath of the public. His criticism centered on the underlying tension between innovation and tradition, a theme close to his entrepreneurial ethos. Musk argued that Starmer's approach failed to account for the delicate balance required to modernize an industry while respecting its cultural and economic significance. For Musk, a man whose ventures have consistently pushed the boundaries of what's possible, the riots symbolized a larger failure of leadership, the inability to envision a harmonious future that marries progress with inclusivity. The Prime Minister's time in office has been a tumultuous period marked by ambitious promises and controversial outcomes. Keir Starmer rose to power on a wave of optimism, vowing to bring measured reform, restore public trust in governance, and address the systemic inequities that had plagued Britain for decades. However, his tenure has been dogged by criticism that his policies have disproportionately favored urban elites while neglecting the needs of rural communities. The farmer riots became a flashpoint for this growing discontent, highlighting the broader implications of a government perceived to be out of touch with its most vulnerable citizens. For Musk, the issue seemed to strike a particularly personal chord. Though he operates on a global stage far removed from the intricacies of British politics, his vision for the future often revolves around empowering individuals to challenge entrenched systems. In this context, the farmer protests were emblematic of grassroots resistance to top-down policies that overlooked the lived realities of those they purported to help. Musk's critique of Starmer wasn't merely a condemnation of his handling of the riots, it was an indictment of an entire governing philosophy that appeared to prioritize ideological objectives over pragmatic solutions. The impact of Musk's intervention was immediate and profound. His global influence ensured that his remarks reverberated far beyond the confines of British politics, drawing international attention to an issue that had previously been seen as a domestic dispute. The spotlight Musk cast on the crisis amplified the voices of the protesting farmers, giving their cause a platform that few grassroots movements could dream of achieving. This, in turn, put additional pressure on Starmer's administration, which found itself scrambling to address the fallout. The farmer riots underscored the complex intersection of policy, economics, and culture that defines modern governance. For many rural communities, farming isn't merely a livelihood, it's a way of life, steeped in tradition and communal identity. Policies that threaten this way of life, even if well-intentioned, can have far-reaching consequences that extend beyond the economic realm. The Starmer government's failure to recognize this nuanced reality became a central theme of Musk's critique, as he questioned whether the administration had truly considered the human cost of its reforms. The timing of the riots and Musk's subsequent comments couldn't have been more critical. Britain, still grappling with the economic and social aftershocks of Brexit and the pandemic, was already facing mounting challenges in maintaining national unity. The riots not only laid bare the deep divisions between urban and rural Britain, but also highlighted the broader struggle to reconcile economic modernization with social cohesion. Musk's intervention, while ostensibly focused on the specifics of the farmer protests, tapped into this larger narrative, drawing attention to the fragile state of the nation's socio-political landscape. Starmer's response to the crisis did little to quell the storm. Despite efforts to engage in dialogue with farmers and address their concerns, his administration's attempts were widely seen as too little, too late. For many, the government's approach epitomized a broader trend of bureaucratic detachment and technocratic policymaking that failed to resonate with the realities on the ground. Musk seized on this perception, framing the government's actions as emblematic of a leadership style that prioritized optics over substance. The controversy also sparked a broader conversation about the role of public figures like Elon Musk in shaping political discourse. As a billionaire entrepreneur with no formal ties to British politics, Musk's critique of Starmer raised questions about the boundaries between business, activism, and governance. While some praised Musk for using his platform to advocate for marginalized voices, others questioned the appropriateness of his involvement in a complex political issue outside his immediate domain. Regardless of where one stood on this debate, there was no denying the impact of Musk's remarks in reshaping the narrative around the farmer riots. The implications of this clash extend far beyond the immediate crisis. For the Starmer government, the controversy highlighted the growing disconnect between political elites and the communities they serve, a dynamic that has fueled populist movements across the globe. The farmer riots, while ostensibly about agricultural policy, became a symbol of broader frustrations with a political system that many feel is increasingly unresponsive to their needs. Musk's intervention served to amplify these frustrations, exposing the vulnerabilities of a government struggling to maintain public trust. At the same time, the crisis raised important questions about the future of agriculture in a rapidly changing world. As nations grapple with the twin challenges of feeding a growing population and addressing climate change, the need for innovative and sustainable farming practices has never been more urgent. Yet, the events in Britain underscored the dangers of pursuing these goals without adequately considering their social and economic implications. Musk's critique of Starmer's policies reflected a broader concern about the risks of imposing top-down solutions without engaging with the communities most affected by them. The farmer riots also served as a stark reminder of the power of collective action in an era dominated by centralized institutions and digital platforms. The protests, which began as localized demonstrations, quickly evolved into a nationwide movement that captured the attention of the world. This transformation was driven in part by the strategic use of social media, which allowed farmers to share their stories, mobilize support, and counter the government's narrative. Musk's involvement only amplified this dynamic, demonstrating how influential individuals can leverage their platforms to shape public opinion and challenge established power structures. For Elon Musk, the episode was yet another example of his willingness to take on controversial issues and challenge the status quo. Whether through his ventures in electric vehicles, space exploration, or digital communications, Musk has consistently positioned himself as a disruptor of entrenched systems. His critique of Starmer's handling of the farmer riots was a natural extension of this ethos, reflecting his belief in the power of innovation and grassroots activism to drive meaningful change. For Keir Starmer, however, the fallout from the crisis represented a significant blow to his leadership and his vision for Britain's future. The Prime Minister's handling of the riots not only alienated a key constituency, but also raised serious questions about his ability to navigate the complex challenges facing the nation. As the protests continued to escalate, the Starmer government faced mounting pressure to find a resolution that could address the immediate concerns of farmers while laying the groundwork for a more inclusive and sustainable agricultural policy. In many ways, the farmer riots and the ensuing controversy encapsulated the defining challenges of contemporary governance, balancing the need for progress with the imperative of social cohesion, navigating the tensions between local traditions and global imperatives, and responding to the demands of an increasingly interconnected and vocal populace. Elon Musk's intervention, while polarizing, brought these challenges into sharp focus, forcing the Starmer administration and the broader political establishment to confront the deeper issues at the heart of the crisis. The escalation of the farmer riots in the United Kingdom, exacerbated by Elon Musk's pointed critique of Prime Minister Keir Starmer's policies, illuminated a profound clash of ideologies and priorities. To understand the depth of this controversy, it's essential to explore the broader socio-political dynamics at play, the intricacies of agricultural policy reform, and the ripple effects of Musk's interjection into the debate. At the core of the farmer riots lies a deep-seated anxiety about the future of rural livelihoods in an era of rapid technological and economic change. The United Kingdom's agricultural sector, long a cornerstone of its economy and cultural identity, has faced mounting pressures from globalization, climate imperatives, and shifts in consumer preferences. The government's proposed reforms, billed as necessary steps to modernize the sector, were seen by many as the final straw for an industry already stretched thin. Starmer's administration, intent on aligning with international sustainability goals, sought to implement sweeping changes to land use regulations, subsidy structures, and environmental compliance standards. While these reforms were framed as progressive, their rollout exposed glaring gaps in consultation and understanding of on-the-ground realities. Musk's intervention added a layer of global scrutiny to what might otherwise have remained a domestic issue. His critique was not only a sharp rebuke of Starmer's policies, but also a commentary on the broader challenges faced by policymakers in balancing progress with equity. Musk's remarks highlighted a critical question: can governments pursue ambitious reforms without marginalizing the very communities they aim to uplift? The riots underscored the consequences of failing to achieve this balance, as the farming community, feeling abandoned and misunderstood, mobilized in unprecedented ways. One of the most striking aspects of the riots was the unity displayed by farmers across regions and demographics. Traditionally fragmented by differences in scale, crop type, and geography, the agricultural sector coalesced around a shared sense of injustice. This solidarity was a testament to the widespread perception that the government's reforms were not just misguided, but existentially threatening. For many farmers, the proposed policies represented an erosion of their autonomy, as centralized regulations sought to dictate the terms of land use and production. Musk's commentary, which championed innovation and individual empowerment, resonated deeply with this sentiment, further galvanizing the movement. The role of technology in shaping the narrative around the riots cannot be overstated. Social media platforms became a battleground for competing narratives, with farmers using these tools to document their struggles, share their stories, and counter government messaging. Images and videos of tractors blockading highways, protesters occupying public spaces, and impassioned speeches at rallies quickly went viral, capturing the attention of a global audience. Musk's tweets amplified these efforts, lending credibility and visibility to the farmers' cause. His intervention demonstrated the power of digital platforms to bypass traditional gatekeepers and elevate grassroots movements, a dynamic that has become increasingly central to modern activism. As the protests gained momentum, the Starmer administration found itself besieged on multiple fronts. On one hand, there was the immediate challenge of addressing the farmers' grievances and restoring order. On the other, there was the broader question of how to navigate the political fallout from a crisis that had exposed deep rifts within British society. The government's response, characterized by a mix of concessions and crackdowns, only deepened the sense of alienation among rural communities. For many, the administration's actions epitomized a broader trend of urban-centric policymaking that prioritized the interests of metropolitan elites over those of rural constituents. The crisis also highlighted the complexities of pursuing environmental sustainability in a politically charged context. The Starmer government's reforms were framed as a response to the climate crisis, with measures aimed at reducing carbon emissions, promoting biodiversity, and transitioning to more sustainable farming practices. However, the implementation of these measures was widely criticized for its lack of nuance and sensitivity to local conditions. Farmers argued that the policies placed disproportionate burdens on small and medium-sized operations, while larger corporate players were better positioned to absorb the costs. This perception of inequality fueled resentment and undermined trust in the government's intentions. If you liked this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us. What are your thoughts on Elon Musk's criticism of Keir Starmer over the farmer riots? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.